I'm going to explain it in a way where it's more than the stress hormone. But there you go, Ben. Happens in the human mind when you in situations where you always arguing or they always high stress level. This is going to help some of y'all because a lot of us are wired to gravitate towards arguments and shit like that, and we don't understand why. Like some of y'all in relationships and your partner be probably telling you you always want to argue, or they shut down, or they limit communication because they feel like it always turns high stress level. So I'm gonna help some of y'all, and like I told y'all, I read a lot. Some stuff I read, it stick with you to the point where, again, when you in life and the stuff's happening, it's almost like a curse because you can see it so clear and the people around you can't see it. You'll never get an understanding. But I'm gonna just read to y'all, right? So you're in a situation, y'all arguing, your voices get louder, you know, your mindset changes to the point where the neurochemistry in your mind is almost hijacked to the point where you're not really in control. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. So just to read y'all a piece of what, you know, I've been reading. I've been reading this for years. Like, in situations of high stress, fear, distrust, the hormone and the neurotransmitter cortisol floods the brain. Executive functions that help us with advanced thought process like strategy, trust building, and compassion shut down. I'm gonna read y'all that again so y'all can genuinely understand what's happening in your brain when you sit there and just keep involving yourself in high stress level situations or arguments all the time. In situations of high stress, fear, or distrust, the hormone and neurotransmitter cortisol floods the brain. Executive functions that help us with advanced thought processes like strategy, trust building, and compassion shut down. Y'all hear that, right? Now, I hope y'all could process it. Let me make sure y'all understand that part before I keep reading. Ben, I already know you here with me. Hold on. Somebody said makes so much sense. Executive functions that help us with advanced thought processes like strategy, trust building, and compassion shut down. And I'm trying to make sure like y'all keeping up. I don't want to get halfway into this and some of y'all ain't with me so far. From there, basically, your instinctive part of the brain takes over, right? Listen to what I'm saying, instinctive. So now you're going to operate off of instinct, right? The body makes a chemical choice on how best to protect itself, right? In this case, like the case I described, if you in an argument with a coworker or in a relationship or with a family member, like, you go from shame to loss of power to you associate that with being wrong. And then as a result, you unable to regulate your emotions, right? Y'all keeping up with this? And then you can't handle the gaps like between your expectations and reality. You really got to listen to me when I'm saying this. Like, as a result of this chemical, you know, imbalance or process that takes place in your mind, like as a result, you become unable to regulate your emotions, and then you can't handle the gaps in between what you expect and what's really going on. You know how I be talking about what you feel and what is actually happening? Y'all understand this, right? This is true for all of us. There is nobody on here, unless you not a human being, that you're exempt from this. This is why I say, like, it's certain stuff you learn when you read, you can't unlearn it. So what I'm describing is chemistry in the human brain. There's nobody exempt from this, not even me. This is what happens when you get into situations where you're arguing heavy or it's high stress level. This 100% facts is what's going on in your brain. Y'all understand what I'm explaining so far? So we default to one of four responses: fight, flight, freeze, or appease. I'm finna break this shit down to y'all so y'all can genuinely understand. And the reason why I'm choosing to read it rather than just give y'all the game directly from me is because a lot of y'all like to try to justify how it ain't you. But this is scientific facts. Hold on. We on the road today on Instagram. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. There's so many gaps in me reading it. So the body makes a chemical choice about how best to protect itself. Like in this case, from the shame and the loss of power when you arguing and you feel like you losing the argument, like you associate, like your brain basically just associates with like the idea that I don't want to be wrong, right? And as a result, you unable to regulate your emotions or handle the gaps in between expectation and reality. So most people, we default to 4 responses. And this is, when I say most people, I mean people who don't understand this is going on. You can't really regulate it if you don't know that this is going on. So you will result in fight, which is you keep arguing to make your point. Flight, you revert to, hide behind, or basically use the group consensus. You just kind of go along, you know, like, let me get out of here, basically. Let me just move on along past it. Or you freeze, like you basically disengage from the argument and you just shut down. Or you appease. You make nice with the person that you arguing with or agree with them just to agree. So you ever been in an argument with somebody and they be like, nah, you right. You right. And you can tell they don't actually believe that. They just saying that because, of course, they appeasing. Freeze. You ever seen somebody, you know, some of y'all say like, you know, he won't say nothing back or he just sit there. Freeze. Completely like check out. Flight. This is where you actually like get the fuck up out of there. And then, of course, fight, you stay there and just keep going back and forth. Regardless of any of them, all are harmful because they prevent the honest and productive sharing of information and opinion. So it don't matter which one, all of them still kind of create the same conclusion in the end. Y'all understand that, right? Hold on, y'all. I'm getting Facebook right. My bad, Facebook. I'm going to say that last part again. All are harmful because they prevent honest and productive sharing of information and opinion. Definitely. You're definitely right about that. Somebody on Facebook said agreeing when you don't agree leads to resentment. But you got to understand, it don't matter which one of these you find yourself often resulting in. None of them are actually productive for the exchange of information, for the exchange of genuine opinions, and to move forward. My point in sharing this with y'all is once I genuinely, and it's a lot more to read, but I ain't gonna sit on here and read to y'all. But once you genuinely understand, like really read and reread that shit and really understand what's happening in your mind as you cranking up in arguments and stuff, you will become less and less attracted to the idea of going back and forth with anybody about anything because it don't be productive. Like that is my overall point to y'all. When it comes to life and, hold on. When it comes to life and growth, and accomplishing goals, being a more positive person, changing your viewpoint and your perspective on life from, you know, negative to optimistic. All of this stuff is centered around the stuff that you involve yourself in repeatedly because that's what conditions you. Condition doesn't just happen from you just like telling yourself shit. It's based on what you eat, what you see, what you hear, what you listen to. Everybody ain't, you know, on the same level as me when it comes to like chasing information, but like a lot of us do go seek and want to learn more. I'm a knowledge junkie, so anything with the brain, the human mind, the economy, understanding people, relationships, I'm gonna read and reread and read and reread to try to really like know that shit, if that makes sense. No, the resolution is understanding what's going on so that I'll give, okay, so in the beginning of this live, when I explained, like, when you really know the stuff that I just was like briefly reading, y'all, it's almost like a curse. The reason why is because I know what's happening when it's happening to me. I can feel it because I understand exactly what the shit is explaining. I can feel the moment I turn into that hijacked mindset, meaning like how I said in the beginning, you will get like turned up to the point where the idea of getting your point across will take over. I can feel it. Like that's why I'm saying nobody's exempt in it. Like if me and somebody else get in an argument, I feel the moment my mind switch from just being this what I think to let me tell you, and it switch into hijack mode to where I know. So for me, when you can see it and when you know, you'll end it. Like you'll and the people around you, a lot of times the people you argue with, they won't understand the space that you're operating from. That's why I say it can become a gift and a curse, because if you don't understand what's going on with your mind, the other person telling you like, hey, this is what's like, if me and one of y'all was arguing and I was to tell y'all this, like, listen, I'm going to tell you what's happening with your brain right now, just in the middle of the argument. Like, this is what's going on. This is why we yelling. This is why now all we worried about is trying to be right and wrong. Or I can tell you just trying to be right now. Or you trying to be the other part, they don't know what the fuck you talking about. Because if they don't understand this, it just sounds like you just saying this stuff just to try to make them wrong about something. They don't really realize this is science going on in your brain right now. And this shit only gonna end one of four ways. Regardless, it still ain't getting us nowhere moving forward, because high stress level conversations, arguments and shit that keep, going in the direction of shit like this, like, it don't get you nowhere overall. It doesn't end in a better result. It doesn't get to communicate the information that needs to be communicated. The thing is, when you know what's going on, you know that, like, it's another bad memory being created under your belt, and that's it. So no, it's not about ending the relationship. What I'm explaining to y'all, it's about understanding that if you do this often, if your body go through this often, it will have a long-term effect, like, on your character and the way that you think. You really gotta, like, when I read the first part of this, like, just understand. I want y'all to really, like, hear me out, right? I've explained to y'all what happens in the brain just scientifically when you in situations like this. High intense arguments, often high stress level situations, right? So this one part. In situations of high stress, fear, and distrust, listen to these situations. High stress, fear, distrust. High stress, fear, distrust. High stress, fear, distrust. Y'all understand them three situations I'm explaining? So now, when you in situations like that, here is what happens. Once again, the hormone and neurotransmitter cortisol floods the brain. Executive functions. Y'all know what the word executive means? High level, the important shit. If you ever look at a job or somewhere, the executives are the top people. So when it say executive functions, bitch, the top functions that help us with advanced thought processes like strategy, trust building, compassion, them bitches shut the fuck down. So imagine if you always in situations of high stress, fear, and distrust. That means your shit don't never be working. If you always stressed out, if you always in a situation where you got mistrust on you, like how y'all say, I got trust issues and shit. If you operating like this all the time, what do you think is wrong with you as far as your decision making and shit like that? You really just got to think about it. This is science now. This ain't my opinion. This ain't me telling y'all, here's what I think is going on with you. Somebody said, I literally am studying this. Right? I'm telling y'all, like, and this is stuff that once you learn, once you like notice, I don't mean just hear somebody saying it, get off the line, go back to your day. When you like, I've read up on this shit so much, I know what the fuck's going. So I can sit there in the midst of like chaos and like, he trying to be a victim, she just trying to be right. Okay, he at a point, he don't even give a fuck no more. He done checked out. She just keep agreeing with everybody. Like, she done stayed in an appeased state. Like, she just, as long as she go with the flow or whatever, she just don't want no conflict. Like, when your life is centered around high stress, mistrust, shit like that, your decision-making skills be way off. You ever asked yourself why it seems like you just keep making the wrong choices? And then guess what? You start having lack of trust within self. The thing is, what you got to understand is when you notice, then it's your job to make choices about keeping yourself and creating your circle. It's crazy because the Zoom that I'm doing tonight at 9:30 on money, business, team building, entrepreneurship, all of that. Part of the Zoom I am going to speak on when you building your team, you got to build it with people that are, how can I explain it to y'all without giving away too much game? When you building a team around you, whether it's personal or rather it's for business, it has to be people that don't add these type of situations to the business environment. Like, it's important that when you know this shit, you make sure you set your life up or your space to where there aren't people that they are feeding off of this or addicted to this. Because there are some people, like, you ever heard people, or some of y'all, somebody might have told y'all, like, you like to argue. People like that, if you live with them or you date them, that shit is going to stress you out to the point where it will affect your life choices. And then when some of y'all have done one-on-ones with me, I talk to y'all about the key points in your day. For example, when you wake up in the morning and when you go to bed at night, you're in your most vulnerable state, right? So just think about this. The people you in relationships with, if they are adding high stress to your life in those vulnerable times, that shit affects your ability to be able to make decisions throughout your day. What's on you when you go to bed, that should affect how well you rest. And of course, when you wake up, what's on you affects how the fuck your day go. I genuinely hope y'all understand what I'm explaining, because these is like, when you really learn this, it'll help you. Like, this is when, okay, when y'all hear me talk about how people that are wealthy, people that are at peace with themselves, they feel like they found themselves, they live in their life from a space of, I'm genuinely happy, I'm enjoying life. People like that, they don't tolerate this kind of stuff. Even if they don't understand it down to a science like I do, they've, at some point in their life, it's clicked that negative people that are not adders or multipliers, people that operate from a space of being addicted to drama or chaos, people that often want to spend time talking about stuff that is not excelling us, they will be detrimental. Like, they will destroy your success. The thing is too, it's when you know it, you avoid it, but also too, you're able to like there's avoiding stuff, and then there's like being clear that I'm not involving myself in that. You know what I mean? Exactly. Moving around those people. I call it moving with intention, like doing things with a purpose behind it. It's definitely important to have emotionally intelligent people on your team, but it's also important that for some of y'all that, you know, you're trying to build yourself up as a boss, you want to call yourself a boss, you want to be successful, you want to land a successful, but you got to understand stuff like this. This is gold to people who trying to be successful in life. You can't get no high level job. You can't, you know, put yourself in positions where you're over a successful team or run a successful company. And I don't give a fuck what kind of company it is. You cannot do it if you're emotionally driven and you don't know how to intentionally, like, keep yourself out of or avoid situations that are always high stress level, you know, situations that create chaos, project mistrust, all that shit that cause exactly what I just described that happen in the human brain scientifically. I genuinely hope that helps some of y'all. Project mistrust just means you got people around you that often show you reasons not to trust them. People that lie, make up stuff, gaslight you, do stuff, make it seem like they didn't do it, say stuff, make it seem like they didn't say it. Just anything that puts you in a... This is when I be telling y'all not to go against self. It don't mean just go around and be rude and selfish. It means that when you in situations where genuinely your body is telling you this doesn't feel right, you don't ignore it. You don't go against you. To be honest, it happens in work environments a lot of times. And then usually what happens too at work is you can't really go all out like you really want to because it's your job. You really can't start cussing and acting crazy like you want to. So the shit on top of the stuff that I just described going on in your brain, the shit sit on you. It carry with you. It weigh on you. You have resentment at the job towards whatever person because you wasn't able to get them how you want to get them and shit. And then a lot of times we don't realize the biggest problem with this is that it will change your character. Because then you walk around a person, you got shit on your shoulder from Miss Jones at work. You got shit on your shoulder from Miss Smith down at the store. You got shit on your shoulder from Bob, the person you're in a relationship with. You got shit on your shoulder from arguments. And it just carries to the point where your character turns into a defensive victim. Always got to be right. Always on 10. Never could really make rational decisions and shit like that. It's hard to separate emotion from reality because, of course, you used to just going, your brain used to this shit going on all the time. Exactly. Exactly. Hot chili pepper, you summed it up. You will start to then, and then the thing is, you don't notice it. You sit in your own negative thoughts, and then as other people try to point out to you how you're being, you can't see it. And then all you end up doing is trying to defend yourself against, like, the world. You ever seen the people that feel like they literally genuinely feel like it's them against everybody? Yeah, it could turn into PTSD, 100%. If like stuff like this, when you go sit in front of a psychiatrist, like, and you really talk to them, and if you describe to them that you like be in these situations often where it's like your mind hijacked, like an out of body experience, like y'all say, them people that get so mad they black out, or they get so upset and they carry it on all day long, or it seems like they just can't have a conversation. It goes left every time. Like, you will get diagnosed with something in the average human being, like, especially in this country with the way that they push the agenda with the pharmaceutical, industry and shit just really being about business. They gonna put your ass on some meds to cope with this shit. Like, they gonna give your ass a prescription Rather it be bad or good, because sometimes the medication will work for you. Some people cannot. Their mind by itself cannot cope with and manage this shit. So you'll end up, getting some sort of medication to help you deal with it. And then some people, like, and I know this to be true for a lot of people in the urban community and the black community. You end up having like multiple personality disorder, bipolar disorder and shit like that, to the point where you can't even really just sit and be oneself. It ends up changing. Yep, mood disorder, 100%. It will. It definitely will. Yeah, if you can't manage it, you will get misdiagnosed sometimes when the shit just all over the place. Exactly. All them defense mechanisms and that idea that your brain done been took over with this concept of being right, it will end up being your character. Definitely. So I'm gonna tell you, like, on the bad and good spectrum, it fuck with you physically, because stress in general will fuck with your feelings, the way that you like feel about self. It will also fuck with your, you know how you see people, you be like, damn, she looks stressed out, or he looks stressed out. But also, like, for me, because I be knowing what be going on, and like I say, the stuff I just read y'all is true for everybody. So even me, if I get in an argument or a high stress level situation, because I know what's going on, my stomach started to hurt. Sometimes I'll get a real bad headache, like, instantly, because I already know, like, my brain is telling me, like, you know this. Why are you involving yourself in this? Like, my mind, like, I do a lot of self-talk. So my body is telling me, like, bitch, no. And it will weigh on me physically. Like, knowing this will, because I could be out even with family members, and two of my family members was going back and forth about some shit a week and a half ago, and I'm like witnessing it. I'm in the middle of it, and my stomach started hurting, my head started hurting, I started feeling like fuck, like I got to get the fuck out of this shit, because my body is telling me, like, bitch, you know this, you know what this is doing, you know what they're doing, you can see it. You're an idiot if you sit here and just like flow yourself into what the fuck because they don't know, they in it. I hope this helps some of y'all. Like, I genuinely hope it help you understand why to be positive, why to surround yourself with people that are gonna flow good energy, motivation, stuff that's gonna fill you up about moving forward. Yep, I'll get like that. My stomach will start hurting. I get a headache. That shit will throw off my whole day if I sit in some shit like that too long. A bad argument for me will create mental chaos more for me than probably any of y'all, just because I done read this shit. I done been in school with it being taught. I done like went back and reread the shit. I done actually like been in situations myself and like felt myself going through it. The time my brain switched and I'm not being rational anymore, been there. Big fan from India. I appreciate it. Exactly. Somebody said people stay in stressful situations because it's familiar. Destroying themselves is familiar. Exactly. Self-sabotaging. And then you got to understand too, some of y'all, you don't know exactly the stuff I know. like as far as, what I just read. But you do know that the situation I'm in is not good for me because I can feel it. My body, my brain is telling me, but the people around me or the person that is doing this or engaging this shit, with me often makes me feel, bad if I try to set up boundaries or pull myself out of it. And that is the biggest problem. It's more of a problem than what I'm actually describing. When you got people around you and they make you feel bad for wanting to leave or not involve yourself in stuff that you don't want to be involved in. You definitely can, because the shit like creates a hormonal change in you. Like your body can become addicted. Your mind can become addicted to the idea of, like, some people, they don't believe you care about them unless you argue with them. Like if you're not being confrontational or assertive with them or trying to like fight with them or getting emotional about stuff they bring up, they will feel like you don't care. People who have grown and matured throughout life, done work on self, they understand that those are signs of like issues within self. It's not normal to sit around and operate on high emotion towards an individual, all day long or often.